You can start.
This is it. Podcast one. We will get better. We will. We'll promise. This is raw. You're going to look on this as the early days, as they were the good old days when there was nothing going on.
And the setup was pretty makeshift.
And I'm not eating cream of rice from the get-go.
And I'm not still having my brain fall out my ears from prep.
Literally walked in and she was on the couch at doze as I got to wake her up now. She was bitching and moaning. She fell asleep during the day yesterday. And obviously it's going to disrupt sleep. So what we doing here?
Apart from moaning about my poor sleep habits.
Yeah, nothing new. We tried to come up with a name, didn't we? We're kind of on the cusp. We're thinking couch potato because of Ruby over here. She's
one couch potato.
yes.
And it's ironic because we're bodybuilders, therefore we're not couch potatoes.
We'll make this setup like that. We'll have shit in the background soon. We'll have a big old
Olympia qualifying fucking piece of cardboard. I could go and get that and just sit it in between us. But then I have to leave you unattended with the computer.
Yeah. risky. Right. So episode 1 of troubleshoot, beta test, whatever you want to call it. Couch potato.
What do they call it? It's like the pilot
episode.
Yeah.
What have I got in the bowl? Now the combination I've got here is JP maple syrup.
Why are you looking at me?
Is it maple syrup, the flavour?
Yeah.
Maple syrup. I let it cool down, put 2 squares of dark chocolate in there. That melts in. Then you let that cool down, and if you freeze it, it like creates like spider webs of dark chocolate. It's fucking amazing. Then a layer of raspberries with the way is cinnamon donut on top.
Made into sludge.
Very, very good.
This will not be a bodybuilding cooking podcast.
But cream and rice combinations are definitely a hot topic, and I think we can definitely cover them. Nobody makes better cream and rice than you.
Anyway, this whole thing that's happening here started because we have a lot of car conversations and they get pretty in-depth. And we realised through my lack of extensive research, you're quite good at researching podcasts. You watch a lot of podcasts.
I do.
I tend to not so much. But there seems to be a bit of a lack in sort of bodybuilding couples and their thoughts and feelings.
And like legit actual bodybuilding couples, like no offense, but if you're a men's physique competitor and your missus is a bikini, you don't really count, in my opinion.
just putting that out there.
We've already lost all our subscribers.
Yeah. It's more about like being a more muscular couple and what that's like walking around.
There's so many like taboo subjects that come around, like especially if, like, you think I'm a freak show when we go into the city centre and people are watching, but also being coupled with this one as well. There's so much stigma when it comes to female muscles, so many subjects that come up that are just not really covered, and things that now you are bigger, you are starting to notice things that are happening more frequently in day-to-day life.
It's things like, before we were a couple, if I was going to go into town, even though it's like the height of summer, I'd be in leggings and a big baggy t-shirt or a jumper to cover up the stairs. But now I'm walking around as part of a more muscular couple. I feel more comfortable being able to do it, but that still doesn't mean that we don't get the looks and the comments. I mean, just thinking back in the last 10 days, we're in Bristol Airport. He's pushed pushing our suitcases around to find somewhere to sit in Starbucks to have a coffee. And there's this fat, wrinkly as fuck crow hag of a woman who's just stopped stirring her coffee mid-stir, mouth open, gawping in this and she's pulling her face like
at me,
at you. And I just literally, I stood there, folded my arms and stared at her. And she's got one of those, she had one of those cat's bum mouths that you get from 50 years of fucking smoking. And she was just being so overt with the way she was looking and the disgust on her face. It's just, I'm not very outspoken, but if I could have the confidence to say something, it'd be like, sweetheart, people in glass houses should not throw stones. You're hardly an oil painting over there. And she's then like, I think my look just said it all. And she's waddled off, probably with some sort of fibromyalgia, or like, I don't know, I've got a touch of the sugars, i.e. diabetes, from poor eating habits, like type 2 diabetes. And she's trundled on across the road and started chain smoking as if her life depended on it. And it's just like, these people look at us as if there's something wrong with us because of the life choices we make. Yeah, for them, like sitting and eating a family packet of crisps, chain smoking with a pint of Stella that they then proceed to binge drink all weekend, that's normal, that's healthy. But yeah, us over here, I mean, yeah, walking around at 290 pounds isn't healthy, but at the end of the day, the foundations of our lives, like good diet and exercise, is healthy.
Right, fuck me, you went deep there. You went so deep. I'll let you get carried away. It was like we get this a lot, and we actually had this conversation.
Being called a fucking tranny in a Welsh Tesco's was probably the highlight of my life.
And the person trying to do it in like a nice way as well, it was really odd.
She was like, I work with people like you, transsexuals, but she did it really fucking loudly, and it's like, pretty sure that there might be transsexuals out there that are very muscular and professional bodybuilders. I don't know, but yeah, no, not appropriate.
Like, if I was there, I'd say, love, that most men don't have the amount of muscle she has. What makes you think that she's anything like Ian and Peter over there getting there? Yeah, no, it's funny because like,
also, if you work for support with transgender people, the last thing they want to do is be loudly outed at the self-checkout in Tesco's in fucking Port Talbot. Like, have some empathy, sweetie,
You're doing a good job, but I know where you are. That type of thing. Yeah. Like we actually had this conversation after we went for an off-plan meal, went for Italian Exeter. And we were both, we were actually quite covered up, apart from you were in a dress and obviously we were backs on show. You look fucking wicked, by the way. And we were getting a lot of looks, and it was at that point I realized, like, back a couple of years ago, I still am quite uncomfortable in public when I get the looks, but I'm a lot more confident now that I've also got someone to share that with. But it also takes the attention off me, and I'm much more concerned with what other people are looking at. I get very protective when people are looking at you in a negative way. It's like going through town, my reaction, there was a woman that was like, to her friend, was like this, whilst Mana, she was being on a high day, vascular as fuck, walking through town and
waddling.
Waddling
like, in prep with like a tortoiseshell belly, fucking full of carbs.
No, you look good. And I was back at her, I like imitate what she done. I was like, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's the,
what was it somebody your barber said to you? Fucking, it's not for me. Well, that's all right, Ryan. It's like, fucking, you're not for me either, with your fucking belly and your love handles.
What's the need for people even to say that? Like, they see a woman with thick, like, muscle and they go, oh yeah, it's cool, but it's just not for me. Mate, she ain't putting that amount of muscle on to attract you. She's a fucking athlete.
It's like, if you are overly on the skinny side or you're overly on the fat side, I'm not saying that you don't get body shamed, because I know it happens, but I don't think that interaction in the barbers would have been the same. Like, if Dan had showed a photo and I was fat, they wouldn't have said, oh, that's just not for me. Like, it's not socially acceptable. So why is it okay to say that? And
that's a whole podcast in its own. It's like the sexualization of females with muscle, when you're forgetting the point that they're actually not doing it to be attracted to by fucking Peter. They are athletes.
Yeah, can you wake me up with your biceps?
Yeah.
No, I can't. And like you put a question box up on my stories, and well, I put not you, I do it. And it's like, oh, do you do any forms of muscle worship? Who's the more dominant one in your relationship? It's like, it's a fucking relationship, you wish.
50-50. 50-50.
Mm.
Don't put a big one on, it will come on.
Yeah,
Okay, so
that's that bit. Welcome to the podcast. It's mainly going to be us ranting about like non-bodybuilders.
but isn't it so weird? Well, we're going to go over recent events, but we've obviously done a lot of traveling recently. And in the UK, I had this conversation with Jamie Harrison over IG because he's in Spain at the minute. Jamie Harrison is a super. He's fucking huge. So you can imagine when he is in public, gets a lot of looks. But he's saying when he's in Spain, it's all positive. It's all positive. So we noticed when we were in Toronto and Alicante, people were so respectful.
Yeah.
They saw it as like you've earned that.
Yeah. Like completely different interaction in a supermarket. One of the store attendants comes over to me and she's like, oh, you've got some muscle on you. You look fantastic. I just wanted to say that. And you don't get that as much in the UK. I get it like when I was doing my cardio in Pure Gym rather than a Unit 7, which is our like strength gym, there would be a few people, mainly men, that would come up and say it. And I had a couple of women over the course of the prep, but you wouldn't get it in a supermarket or in a cafe. It's more the looks. You done with that?
Yeah, that's fucking great.
Henry Hoover over
there. Yeah. As you were.
I've lost my train of thought now. But yeah, it was a lot more positive. And like I think you just had, we were in the sushi bit of this supermarket and some dudes come over and he's like, mate, you want to get on the cheese over there or something like that.
Yeah,
but saying it in a jokey, positive way rather than the standard questions like, if we do get interactions over here, it's more, oh, how do I lose my tummy? Can you tell me how I can lose my tummy? It's like, it's kind of not that simple.
It's like asking Lewis Hamilton, like, can you teach me how to shift gear faster?
Yeah.
So, a little bit demeaning.
Not really a PT. I'm not PT.
No. Right. So I think first and foremost, recent events.
Oh, yeah.
You did a thing.
Some stuff happened.
Stuff happened and led to other stuff, and now stuff has happened and stuff is going to happen.
Yeah. So it was Toronto.
It's Toronto. So talk about that. So I just got off stage. I was forced to eat. Oh no, to have the mental energy to get us through airports.
He still didn't.
I'm fucking useless.
Mr. Geography Masters over here who can't navigate himself through Bristol Airport, let alone Heathrow Airport, let alone a foreign fucking Spanish airport.
My excuse is that I'm trying to keep up work at the same time with clients. That's my excuse. But anyway, we got through the airport. The flight was bloody horrendous. Again, going back to being a muscular couple on a flight that is not, the seat's not designed for people like us.
What I will say is EasyJet, their seats and legroom is far superior to Air Canada, considering EasyJet was a 2.5-hour flight and Air Canada was an 8-hour flight.
It's so uncomfortable.
Oh man, fucking horrendous, especially on the way back where we didn't have the extra legroom.
I tell you what, I think I struggle on the way there more.
Really?
Yeah, that woman next to me.
Oh yeah, speaking of fatties, like Jabba the Hutt sat next to you.
She weren't that big. She was chubby, but she couldn't. Yeah, she wasn't.
Jabba. The thing is, fat's malleable.
Yeah,
it moves, it envelops. It's more viscous.
She didn't get up once for a piss on the flight, did she?
In 8 hours, and also sat and looked at a full bottle of water in 8 hours. Did not take a sip. Oh, she did have ginger ale. Thinking about it,
but she still didn't get up to go for a toilet, did she?
Must have had a fucking cast iron bladder. Or dehydrated as fuck.
Yeah.
What we learned from the flight is I can't do pro-fat.
Yeah, we'll go into that. Like she said to me, like, "Oh, you're pushing me into the aisle." I'm like, "I'm really sorry. I'm trying my best. I really am. I'm leaning forwards." And
so, I even had to sit on the floor at one point because it was just more comfortable.
Yeah, we learned with Mana that her digestion doesn't do very well with pro-fat. That actually makes a lot of sense, particularly in an airplane setting because of the controlled environment, you know, the air conditioning and stuff. But like with you, it makes a lot of sense that what kind of symptoms are you getting?
So I just felt shitty and sluggish and a bit nauseous and bloated, and then I started getting a bit of stomach ache, and then it was more bloated. And I don't tend to suffer with bloat particularly. I'll get like full from like carbs, but it's not a gassy bloat. Insight into my digestive tract here.
We decided to put some cream rice in.
Yeah, I had to. It also it really boosts my acid, and I end up with worse acid reflux. And the beauty of prep was I've had acid reflux for years as a result of a rotating shift pattern. It's just something that happens, and pro fat is definitely one of the things that then boosts my acid. So I hadn't taken any omeprazole because I've been on such little food. I wasn't getting the reflux. So yeah, put me up on a plane, and you know when you've got a bottle of water on a plane and you land again and it's all expanded, that's the air and the partial pressure, and that basically happened to my stomach mid-flight.
Couple with the fact that couple of the fact we've never done pro fat for the entire time of your prep or off season at all, so your body is not used to using that as an energy source.
Yeah,
so it's not like
it's not surprising. I felt like shit.
You're a carb monster. Like your body loves carbohydrates. So for us to dry you out, what we learned was we don't take out carbs. If we need to, we just go protein only. We just do waste sludge, but we don't take out carbs. We just taper them down, and your body just dries out. It's just enough. It's almost a shift you in a deficit. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
As long as you keep water intake and sodium intake up, you won't flatten out as such from that. But for us, throughout the whole time, we had to just lead in with carbs, didn't we?
Yeah.
It worked well as well.
Yeah,
it really did.
Even on show day, I had quite a lot of carbs for a show day.
And no insurance of, we didn't use any diuretics. We made sure we set up that peak for use without diuretics because one, unpredictability, hot climates. If you are using a diuretic, aldactone or diazide, they will deplete sodium. Coupled with a hotter climate, you're going to sweat more, and more sodium's going to flush out your system.
Look at him going all Rain Man over there. He's got the thing with his eyes where he looks up into the corner of his head.
I'm looking for the info. But it just made zero sense to use diuretics, especially when she's got such a nice bubbly look. She's in legit condition. That's the main thing. She's actually in legit condition. So why are we going to risk flushing out all that fullness and lose that bubbliness to your physique? Like, we know what the American judges like. They like that classic WPD shape, which you got. The feedback was that you are classic WPD. So why are we going to risk losing some of those shapes, those dimensions, by flattening you out via diuretic usage? We just simply used peak max.
Yeah,
we used peak max going in, and that seemed to get that second bout of diuresis other than the water loading we did.
Yeah, that worked really well. It was it's the first, sorry, that's a ruby. I've used diuretics before in shows, and it's the first time, you wake up post show the next morning and all your muscles hurt and your mouth's like drier than the friggin' Sahara, and you just feel horrendous. Both days post show, I've woken up and I just felt it was just like a normal day. I didn't have like a show day hangover. I mean, yeah, my body was tired. And I got some cramping and some pain down my right side overstretching on the way back from Spain. But there wasn't that, like I say, the only way I can describe it is like a hangover feeling when you've had diuretics.
The cramping and stuff as well. I don't think it was too much to do with dehydration because we had time to get that under control. It was more because you went on stage pretty hydrated. Yeah. I think it's just posing fatigue.
Yeah. And what I was getting at, it was like when I've used diuretics, it's like waking up the next day hungover, and this time having used the Peak Max, it wasn't. So yeah, highly recommend that.
Fuck me, we saw the effect the diuretics had on me in Toronto. Christ. Water buffalo. There was a point in athlete registration we had to consider, like, should I go to hospital?
Yeah, I don't know if that was the diuretics or the blueberries.
Yeah, but I was still suffering from the loops.
Yeah,
that was bad.
I came out. So this is something we're going to do: is go off on tangents all the time.
We'll do a podcast covering my shit.
Yeah,
this is not really about that. It's like, as we said, this pilot episode. We're talking about recent events. I'm not really ready to talk about the universe. properly, we'll do that. But
Yeah.
we will. Like,
So we get to Toronto, realised that once we were in the taxi, realised that neither of our phone signal worked. So then had the stress of trying to find the Airbnb. We had to get a taxi to drop us at a McDonald's. Meanwhile, I'm going dizzy from the lack of carbs, like legit. I get head rushes quite frequently. I'm used to head rushes. Worse on prep when you stand up, you go a little bit dizzy. It's just a lack of compensation of your blood pressure where you're on low food. Not a big deal. But this was like the heat, the lack of carbs. I was probably a bit dehydrated despite trying to keep on track of my water with the flight. And yeah, I remember like we got that Uber.
We've been up for 23 hours.
Oh yeah, there was that too. Not at that point. We'd only probably been up for about 18 hours at that point.
Still.
Maybe about 18, 19 hours. We've been up since 4 a.m. UK time, which then meant we landed, it was about 2 o'clock, I think, wasn't it? So that would have been 7 p.m. UK time when we landed, and we then had to do all the other shit. So yeah, going dizzy, got an Uber to the Airbnb, which was lovely.
Lovely Airbnb.
And then what happened next? Oh, we went to sleep. We tried to sleep. I tried to sleep.
It was so hot in there to have no air conditioning, so we had to buy a fan, which even more, I was so glad none of that peak was set up for diuretics, because they were hot nights, you were sweating a lot.
And I don't tend to sweat at night.
No, not at all.
No, despite being next to the furnace. Yeah, so next day, checked in, wasn't holding too much water, and headed off to Pure Muscle and Fitness. That was that the Thursday? That was the Thursday, wasn't it?
Yeah, we would have done our first session on the Thursday. Yeah.
Pure Muscle and Fitness, if you're ever in Toronto, it's Burlington side of Toronto. Highly recommend that. We are also going to have dogs in the podcast. It was a little bit full of influencers on the Thursday, Friday. Far too many people standing around with tripods, filming like one person. There was like 7 people around bits of kit. Nightmare. But the gym itself is amazing. Spent far too much money on HD clothing.
We did. I spent like a few $100s, didn't I?
Yeah. And then I did one after the thing happened.
Yeah, after the thing happened. Yeah, the gym was insane. Like going from the inside, someone who knows gym kit, and there's a lot of people that will listen to me or follow me on Instagram who will listen to this, are into their gym kit and stuff like that. No joke, it's absolute heaven. Like we love the classic Cybex ranges, like your Body Masters. It was so cool. They had 2 Cybex VR1 leg presses. Like what gym do you go to has two classic Cybex hacks, like 2 of everything. There's kit in there I'd never even seen before.
The kit that surprised me was actually the Gym Leco. There was a shoulder press, there was a row.
Lying hand curl.
I was getting to that
right,
because that was like, I don't get on with lying hand curls. It tends to flare my lower back up and my SI. But yeah, this Gym Leco lying hand curl ergonomically was just spot on. Felt like a dream.
Yeah, it was.
And the most humbling Gym Leco hip press. That was Gym Leco, wasn't it?
Hip press.
Not hip press, sorry, glute drive.
Oh yeah, you said. I didn't forget on that. But...
That was literally like the Nautilus one at Unit 7. I mean, admittedly, I was on prep, but I was still going at like 200 kg on that thing before we left. And that's me like holding back a little bit. Literally, I think I put on the equivalent of 40 kilograms on this Gym Leco glute drive. And I was just like, fucking hell, I'm fried.
So Ben at Chimpin, if you're listening to this, an IFBB pro, to become Olympian when we go through the thing that she did, needs some sleeves to add on to the Nautilus glute drive, because she's fully maxed it out with 25s. And they're metal 25s are, they're thick 25s, so she fully maxed them. So if you want to send us something, give me a message.
Shameless plug. Yeah, so we had a couple of days training at Pure Muscle and Fitness. We both trained Thursday, Friday, had Saturday as a rest day.
Yeah.
Friday, it was like head fuck, because there were other WPD competitors training at the same time. So Collie was wandering around, and Alicia, I think that's how I pronounce her name, the woman that actually won, she was doing a photo shoot. So I was all of in my head, all of a little stress bunny. My anxiety and symptoms were kicking off like you would not fucking believe, to the point where I was like, the Thursday night, it went, I didn't say it to Dan at the time, but I was like, I don't actually know how I'm going to get on stage, how I'm going to keep this together and get on stage. So that didn't help on Friday, but I felt a bit better after having a pump. And Tom and Dan's reactions to my check-in photo videos was pretty epic. So that sort of soothed that a little bit. And I kind of made the decision. It was on the way to registration, because we had registration on the Friday. You'd dozed off in the Uber, and I was like, I'm not going to let the shit with work get inside my head and fuck with this experience, because there was a lot of confliction around the fact that, you know, I've been quite open on my Instagram and the other podcast, the WPD podcast, about the state of my mental health and the PTSD symptoms. And, you know, bodybuilding is the thing that's kind of got me through the last few months, you know, having that routine, having that goal, getting me out of the house, getting me out of bed, getting me to interact with people, although sometimes begrudgingly when I'm mid-set and someone wants to have a chat. But
or just in general when you're training.
Yeah. But yeah, it was like, do you know what? I'm not going to let all that get in the way of this. And I don't know how I managed it, but I did manage to suppress it all down, and it kind of came out Sunday night and well, a little bit Monday, but mainly Sunday night afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, so went to registration.
That was so cool.
That was
like,
really cool.
That was like a moment to me. See her get her number, then obviously take a picture in front of the NPC backdrop. It was like realization, like shit, like we're here.
Yeah.
Like we're doing our first. I say our first because I think for a lot of it, I would you agree? I can say our, because like I've been very, as you know, like very invested.
Yeah.
And I feel like
it's the first time I've ever had anybody with me for these sorts of things.
Yeah.
Like my last pro shows was in the middle of the pandemic. They were figure. I was single anyway, and people just weren't traveling. People were either not vaccinated and couldn't travel, or didn't want to travel because of the pandemic. So, and I didn't really have anyone that, the only person that could have potentially come with me was Brittany, but she was too busy, you know, winning her own pro card selfishly that weekend.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, so to have not just somebody but you there,
it was just really cool, and to be present and, you know, take that in, that first kind of athlete registration. I really, we'll talk about the differences in athlete registrations from Empro to Toronto, but I really liked Toronto. It seemed small, and at the time
it's more personal.
At the time we were like, is this it? Like, this is like a tier 2 show, this is quite a big show. Is this it? But in retrospect, we preferred that when we had both experiences.
Yeah.
Like the Empro show, we'll go through that, but it was such a big production. It was too much. The place was too hot. There was too many people.
To be honest, I think I could have coped with everything else if it had been cooler in the venue. Like Toronto, brilliant aircon. You know, it was climbing 30 degrees outside, but you wouldn't have known it inside the venue.
Yeah.
And obviously, when you are depleted, dehydrated on show day, it's important to not overheat. And at least if you get cold, you can put more layers on. But if you're already in your bikini, there's no real going down from there to cool off. But yeah, it was, the Toronto registration was just, they separated it into the categories. So it's just us WPD women there. And yeah, go out, get your number, sort out your music, and then book like tan slots. And oh no, I already had the tan makeup slots.
Yeah.
Makeup was 4 a.m. That was my one criticism of the Toronto show, was having to get up at 2:30.
But how good was the makeup?
The makeup artist Leanne that I had was just fucking brilliant. It was beautiful. Really liked the makeup there. Tam was really good, really efficient, just in and out.
Leanne, if you're at the Olympia,
I've already asked, she's not.
Oh,
yeah,
that's a shame.
Yeah,
we'll find something.
Yeah, sorts of make.
Yeah.
So that was on the Friday. Got sushi Friday night, which made me a little bit nervous, but was also banging. And then Tan was on the Saturday. So yeah, went and did that, and then just sort of chilled out Saturday night. And before I knew it, it was 2 a.m. Sunday morning.
Yeah, it was a long day. It was a really long day. We
Yeah.
got in, got your makeup done, got your top coat tan done. That was really cool as well, because the backstage area where all the tanning happens and all the athletes chill was like, it was really far away from the general public.
Yeah.
So it was just us, like coaches and athletes. Like backstage, we were like Ian Valier, Fuad.
Somebody was getting his fucking
Getting a hard on. Basically.
Yeah. It literally, you'd wander off to go and get an espresso, come back half an hour later, and you'd be like, "Oh, I've just seen so-so, I've just seen." It was like, Paul from Fuad's podcast, Fuad, Ian. Then there was some other people you bumped into as
loads
well.
of people. Jose Raymond.
Yeah, Jose.
So many. I saw Quinton at the gym, but I think he noticed me from the gym and started in the hallway. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was a really good experience. It was pretty awesome. And the athletes we met backstage as well.
Oh, they were amazing. So Iron Princess, or Natalie.
Yeah,
Natalie.
she was sick.
So she came fourth, I think.
Yeah, but like her physique,
her routine was so good.
Her midsection, like that, her abs were so just like
the sass and rhythm was just It's like, can you teach me, please? Because I have zero sass.
Yeah, you can't teach that. That's from my mama.
Yeah. So she was lovely. Collie was lovely.
Collie was lovely.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who else I chatted to backstage. It was mainly Natalie, because they were eating Nutella in a corner next to us.
No, there's like an ongoing joke with Nutella, isn't there?
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like meeting so many like wicked people in bodybuilding, and that's been a staple throughout. There's people that I met when I did my first ever PCA show back in 2019. Apparently we did the same show, didn't know each other back then. Yeah. You were just a baby.
You're also 37, love, so perspective.
Yeah. There's people I've met then that I still chat to on Instagram, so it's really, really cool to have that.
I still think if you saw me backstage, you still would have thought, I'll tap that. You definitely would.
I wasn't thinking much backstage other than, holy crap, what am I about to do? Like, legit, just what the fuck? This is not CrossFit. No sequins involved in CrossFit. That
wasn't your first show, was it?
No,
British.
2018.
Did you do London?
2018 London, that was it. Yeah.
You did 2018 London. We were both doing 2019 British. I was a junior. You would have done trained figure?
No, I did athletic figure.
Yeah.
After doing 2 previous PCA shows where I accidentally entered trained figure for PCA accident. Anyway, we're doing that thing again when we digress.
Well, anyway, show day happened, pre-judge happened.
We went there with the aim of top 5 and first call out. And I was like, I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure.
I saw the women walking out on stage. I was like, fucking hell, these are good. Then it's weird because Romana has this really deceiving, like, people that know Romana knows how impressive she is, but put her on stage in a bikini, like she's got nothing like hiding her silhouette next to other people, and you'll think other people are a lot bigger and have all these muscle bellies and stuff. When Romana gets into a pose, it's like, oh shit, that's bodybuilding, that's illusion. Then you realize that, these women are not bigger than Romana, but Romana has like lovely shape, lovely symmetry, small waist, and it exploits so many people with the condition. And you went in and then they called back, you were in first call out.
So the aim was first call out, which I was buzzing about. And then if you watch any of the videos from final call out, they call my name, and I did it the same when I won my pro card, and I even did it the same at Empro, where there's this like moment of, was that actually my name? And part of that's because my hearing's shit. So it's like, and I'm dyslexic, so the numbers thing sometimes gets in my head.
Goes back to being old as fuck.
It does. So they called my name for final call outs. I'm now just ignoring what you're saying. And that was just like, oh fuck. So to get final call outs with Alicia, that was
brought back for top 2. It was like, fuck yes, this is on.
I mean, I could have gone home then, to be fair.
Yeah, I was just so happy.
Buzzing.
Um,
And to have Brittany there was sick as well, because there's like, yeah, the nicest thing about Toronto was going out on stage, and Dan had managed to get right to the front, right on the left-hand side.
Next door to muscle worshippers. Yeah.
So yeah, I could see and hear him, which was like really reassuring whilst being on stage.
Yeah.
And like the feeling of being on stage, going back to the sort of mental health thing, it's like it's the first time probably since January, the end of December, that I've actually felt present in the moment without any intrusive thoughts or
I know when Romana's masking, and it was seeing her like that was something I haven't seen in a long time. Like I knew as soon as you started posing, getting into shapes and stuff, I knew
he's getting glassy eyed.
like no, because it is it's so massive for me. Like to see like that like I'm gonna say we again because whole PTSD thing, it doesn't just like it impacts you the most, but there's no shit, it does impact partners as well. And to see you there back to your normal self, it was just so like wow, like it was unreal. It really was. And yeah,
it's a pretty sick feeling.
Yeah, Brittany could see it as well.
Yeah,
Brittany said the exact same thing. She was blubbering, bless her.
Yeah, and she doesn't even see. She's aware of some of it, but she doesn't live with me. She doesn't see it. You know, she's not there when like fucking poking my knees on the bedroom floor on the King's coronation, or in the fetal position when you're getting cramps in the middle of the night, not even being able to pass you a drink of water or do anything.
Paralyzed, basically.
Yeah, it's fucking, and not even able to say anything about what's going on. So it's like that sort of shit. People don't see it, and to just be free of that for whatever time it was that I was on stage.
God, when you got off stage, we both looked at each other as like, what the fuck just
it was like fuck. So yeah, we had prejudging. I think the feedback, or not the feedback, the lessons we learned from Toronto was there was a lot of having to go outside to take check-in videos, which was fine because the lighting was fucking brilliant, but it ate away into time. And like, especially between prejudging and finals, every time I walked out of the backstage area, people were wanting to talk to me. So that then delayed the process of taking that video. And my final meal before finals was probably a bit too close to stage time.
Agreed.
And what we've also learned is on show day, jam and almond butter don't work for me. My abs were a little bit washed out for finals. And then I fucked up my routine.
We learned the jam thing though in Emperor, didn't we?
Yeah, but it was, I think, in retrospect.
Oh yeah, but we realised it at Emperor that oh shit, okay, so we'll stick to what we know. And
yeah,
you know, you hadn't used jam in your baseline diet, so I don't know why we thought, oh, this would be a good idea. To be fair,
but then we hadn't used pineapple either, and pineapple works fucking.
But you've had experience pre-stage with pineapple.
Yeah,
like, I mean, I doubt you had pineapple in your diet previous, did you?
No.
Let alone probably a carbohydrate, knowing you know who. But yeah, it just worked perfectly. So for you, we stick with what we know is cream of rice put down to really, really.
Just to clarify, you know who is not Tom.
Oh no, it's not Tom. It's not Tom. Coach pre-Tom, and you'll know.
Yeah.
Shithead. Sorry, what? I can say that.
It's that cough.
Yeah. Yeah, so we stuck with cream rice, whey sludge if we needed to have some protein there because we had some duration away from stage just to ease things through. Dark chocolate generally works well as long as we have carbohydrates present, your acid don't come up.
Yeah.
And pineapple pre-stage, just a munch on, it's got hydration. We had some Lucozade pre-stage, it works, and then a bit of salt, just make sure.
Which I managed to throw in my face and it got stuck to my makeup.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
The salt pre-stage is literally, if you've gone a little bit sodium depleted in the lead up, put in some salt, it will kickstart diuresis again in the longer term between prejudge and finals, but it also pushes all the vascularity to the surface and you end up getting a better pump, but therefore your skin looks tighter. Simple as that. Like, yeah.
So We did. Finals came. We went on for final comparisons. I think it threw everyone because I kind of knew it from my previous pro shows, but the penny didn't drop. They will call out like the second call out for final comparisons before the first call out, so it looks like they've completely backtracked and changed their mind when actually it's just the way they do it. So they've called out the like. I think we worked out there was 16 or 17 in Toronto. And they called out the first sort of all but the top 5. And then it was the top 5 did their routines, final comparisons. I think, did they do another final call out round? I can't remember. No. And then it was awards. So stood on diagonals. They've called 4th, they've called 3rd, and then they called me 2nd, and it was like fucking amazing. Just
like everyone I was around, and obviously myself trying to remove the bias, but everyone I was around as well didn't agree with the result. But at the end of the day, like what more could you want?
Yeah.
Like, you could want first, but honestly, to say you come second at tier 2 show, your first WPD show, is pretty unreal. Like
going from my highest placing in the pro league for figure was top 10, and then the next show after that was dead last with another sort of 5 other women. So it's quite the leap, really.
Yeah, like what it was a 1-point decision. I mean, shot for shot is what it is, but at the end of the day, you did fuck your routine.
Yeah.
So I kind of, if it was close, then I kind of see how they can.
She, the woman that won, did a beautiful routine. It was so good.
Yeah. You just forgot yours.
Yeah, 30 seconds in, and then just redid this first bit about 3 times.
So I still cried.
Yeah.
So did Brett. So
yeah. I think she was crying at the fact I fucked it up, to be honest.
No. I say that, but I've probably got more estrogen than Brett, to be fair.
And me.
Yeah.
So before the show, we were talking about, okay, so we're going to have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off, and then we'll decide about Spain after that. And after it being so close to winning, I was like, I've got to do Spain, and I can't have 3 days off. So we had Monday off. We still trained.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I wish we didn't. I wish we had that full day off and we used it as an opportunity to actually see Toronto, then train Tuesday.
Is it weird that I'm really quite happy with the choices we made about training because I had a really good session?
Well,
and bearing in mind, the other sessions I'd had before that were depleted or full of carbs.
I know why we trained. Was I had that session of mine?
Oh, yes, that was it. Yeah, that was why. But also, it did mean that I could actually train with energy to not full intensity, because obviously it's a day post show, but more intensely, and actually use the gym. So we had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday training, and then flew back to the UK Wednesday. Again, another day where we were awake for like fucking 30 hours.
Damn, my clients know I didn't stop bitching to them either.
Somebody's not very good with sleep deprivation.
You're worse.
I was on prep.
In general.
Yeah, but I can, at the moment I'm worse. Like before, so basically if I have a shitty sleep, all of my symptoms are far worse to manage. So that's why sleep is like so crucial to me. I'm very fatigued post show at the moment, but if you think back before then, like having to go into a 12-hour shift on 5 hours sleep,
that was just another day in the life of Mama, wasn't it?
I think just
yeah, true. So we got back on track. You dug.
Really fucking dug.
You really dug. I think that final cardio session, you had 2 hypos, brought yourself up and brushed yourself down. We flew out to Spain. We had a session at Titan Gym, very small boxy gym, but
fucking that got in my head as well.
Fucking packed. That was packed.
Literally walking in, and there was 3 WPD competitors in there again. Can't remember their names, apologies. And I'm just like, oh fuck.
But you see that and you don't listen to me. Your rationality totally goes out the window. And I know it don't matter to you, but like, yeah, they look big and they're stripped down, but they were soft. They were soft, but you don't see it when I tell you.
Yeah, because it's like, it wasn't so much, oh, they're bigger than me. It was more, I didn't want to be faced with my competition in the gym. It's more that. So it's just a case of like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to acknowledge it. I'm very like, I'm going to put that in a box. Like, he's not allowed to talk about the chances of me winning a show. We're allowed to say top 5, but you're not allowed to say first call out.
Am I allowed to say top 5 at Olympia?
No.
No, I wouldn't say that anyway.
I
think that's to be earned. That's
yeah.
Whatever.
So yeah, it was like a tiny little sweat box, again full of videographers. Like, at one point I was on the lat raise machine and this videographer was resting their camera on the moving arm of the lat raise machine whilst I'm trying to do a set. It's like, seriously, what are you doing? Posing room, I was trying to do my check-in again, because it was like, right, have meal 3 and then I want to check in an hour and a half after meal 3. So I literally ate meal 3, went in, trained, went up to the posing room. It was tiny, lighting was shit. I was just like, fuck's sake, Dan can't take a photo straight on to save his life.
Yeah, because I'm at the same time as I'm making decisions on what we're doing next. I'm trying to do a video, and at the same time I'm looking at you, so I don't get it right.
Yeah. Stress levels through the roof.
Yeah.
So that happened. I was even more of a stress head for Spain. Similar issues to Toronto. God knows how I didn't hold more water than I did, considering how loopy I was those couple of days before the show.
Well, I think you were holding a little bit of water in the morning of the show. But as soon as stress levels come down, the makeup went on finally. We'll talk about
that. Brilliant. I think I can
press pause.
Right. Fuck knows where we got to.
I had a client turn up
that you'd forgotten about.
I haven't forgot about him. Just he needed a piss, so I was like, "Well, I've got to let him." A bit cruel. He's on prep.
Water loading,
and I've changed because it's fucking boiling there.
Yeah. I think we were talking about possibly the days after and the flight back, weren't we? Because yeah, before the show, I wasn't sure I was going to do Spain. Then post result, decided Spain's a goer and potentially Portugal as well. So got back to the UK. Oh, that was it, wasn't it? It was my 2 hypos before we flew out to Spain. It's the first time in a prep I've not been able to finish my cardio.
You only missed 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I told you don't do it.
Yeah.
So
missed the cardio, and I didn't train that day. I was meant to train, but I didn't. But it was kind of like hard work was done. And if you're having 2 hypos, and literally I had 35 grams of whey between the 2 hypos and a fuck ton of water. Sorry, my neck's really tight, so I'm pinching my trap. Yeah, a fuck ton of water, and it still didn't pull me out. So got up. What time did it was quite an early.
We're making this too long-winded. We went to Spain.
We went to
Spain. The seats were better than Toronto. It's actually much more capable.
The Airbnb was opposite a really good coffee shop.
It was super good. Made drying out even better.
Yeah.
I mean, I spoke about this because on Riz's podcast, I'm sure he's probably going to listen to this. They spoke about the tan at Empro. They thought they used Dream Tan because it had a different shine to it. It wasn't Dream Tan. Obviously, that's not allowed in the NPC. It was Top Tan.
Never heard of
it. They didn't do a base coat, so we did a top coat, and that went on what time? Like 8 a.m.
It was about 7:30.
7:30, and you can imagine by 7:30 to meant to be 10 a.m. It was actually 11:30 and went on stage. That is not in your skin. That's on your skin still. So by the time you got stage, your tan from pre-judging was fucked, wasn't it?
It looked like I'd had it on 2 weeks. You know where around your joints it goes all blotchy and you look like a homeless person. It was like that. There was the registration for Empro had all the lights, all the music, and production wise it was fucking wicked. But there was no aircon in the actual building, and that made me feel fucking rough. Couldn't hear anything either. The makeup artist that was meant to do it cancelled on the Thursday. So the makeup artists they had in place, I don't think they had experience doing bodybuilding shows and stage makeup. They didn't have any false eyelashes with them, which luckily I had some spare, so I was able to put those on. But yeah, it was just a bit.
The impression. Go on.
It was a good show.
It's amazing.
Yeah, just for there was little bits for the athletes that could have been better. Like there weren't many fans backstage, considering the heat.
They prioritised the entertainment for the crowd, the glitz and glam, but the actual attention to athletes, I didn't think it was as good as Toronto.
Clothing's sick though.
Oh, it's like wicked. This is
We've been living in this shit.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Considering the heat.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was a bit watery until probably about 10 a.m. really, or maybe 9 a.m.
And once your makeup had got done and your tan had got done, you chilled out, and you I think with that chill out, dropping cortisol, you started drying out, look come to life. I can't remember what we did without going back to my notes, but it took. We put a cream of rice meal in.
6:30, I had cream of rice, 5 grams of fat, bit of protein, bit of salt, and then I think
it's just a sprinkle.
Wasn't it? I think then at about 9 a.m. I had another portion of rice, but the difference, a portion of cream of rice, little bit of protein, little bit of fat. The difference between Toronto and Spain, I used far less water for the cream of rice. It was literally like concrete. You could have killed somebody by throwing that shit at their head. We tried the jam. I instantly could just feel my stomach go gurgly. It was like peristalsis just kicked in. So we decided to X the jam after that.
I gave you a double espresso, so you shit it out pretty much.
Thanks for the details.
Well, then you dried you out.
Yeah.
Just got the bowels moving and dried you out, and it looks like come to life. We added a bit more fluid in from there because it was hot and you needed it.
Yeah.
And then
pumped up far too early. Got my glaze on far too early.
Well, because the stage time was meant to be 10 a.m. and people were still queuing outside to get in, so they wouldn't let the athletes on stage. So they put us back an hour and a half.
I think they also had problems with the live stream as well, and obviously people had paid for that, so they had to sort out that glitch before they could start the show.
I understand that, but you're thinking about that, and you think about athletes' health. There's like you are non-diuretics, but there'll be a lot of athletes there using diuretics, dried out.
There was Brigitte who came second. She was cramping backstage with prejudging. Bless her. I could see her, like she was stretching off. It wasn't just like a little calf cramp. She was full on trying to stretch a hamstring off. And it was just really fucking hot. But prejudging happened. Got first call out, got final call out again, and then we had a hire car in Spain, which made life so much easier once Dan got the grips of driving it.
Mate, like try driving on the wrong side of the road. I'm going to call it the wrong side of the road. Makes zero sense to drive on the right hand side. Meanwhile, you're now on the left side of the car, so everything you're doing is now back to front. But I am used to
driving an
automatic, but manual doesn't matter. I'm good with a manual anyway. But I'm now driving this side, and I'm thinking, no, this side. And I'm thinking, if I'm like this,
and they have roads in the middle of their fucking roundabouts.
And I can't help but think, well, if I'm driving like this, what hand do I hold my vape in? Like, it's a legit concern, isn't it? Like, they don't think about this. They drive like maniacs, but that's beside the point. After prejudge, we went back to the Airbnb,
which was so nice because it was cooler, could chill out. I actually did the bodybuilder thing where I actually sat on the sofa with my feet up, which anyone that really knows me knows that very rarely happens. Even in Toronto, I was buzzing around everywhere, wasn't I?
Yeah, I've got photographic evidence I sent in that.
Yeah,
chilling.
Yeah, watching Netflix, organising our Turkish for the Monday night. We had made the decision, whatever the result was, I wasn't going to do Portugal. It would have been too long. My head was going. It was time to. My body would have looked tired, I think, if we pushed for another 3 weeks. So went back for finals. I didn't fuck up my routine. A couple of wobbles, but nothing compared to Toronto. So as far as I was concerned, the fact that I did that without fucking it up, I was happy.
It was beautiful.
Yeah,
it was really nice.
Really enjoyed that. Yeah. And again, those that know me, I'm not a dancer. I've got no dance background. And the proudest thing about it was I choreographed that and did that all myself. Considering it was a long way from the first time I was on stage in 2018, where I stood in the middle of the stage, didn't realize how to do a routine and just did my quarter turns again. Just literally went round in a circle and walked off.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh dear, yeah.
And then something happened.
Yeah, they called my name first.
Yeah, pretty, I think it was pretty. I think, in my opinion, I mean, you look back at pictures, it was pretty night and day, wasn't it?
I can't see it because like she has different things. Like her quads were bigger, but yeah, all right, mine were more detailed.
But your quads, the way they're shaped, it didn't make hers look bigger. It's just looked big on her frame. Your quads fit on your frame.
But it's difficult when you're in the body to see what
All
other
right,
people
well,
see.
I'll say it how it is. It was condition. Everyone came back softer in the night show. Romana actually came back harder. And that wasn't through me trying to push diuresis or anything like that. It was actually I fed you more food and gave you more fluid.
Yeah.
And it's funny what happens. Something me and Tom were talking about when we're going back and forth was it's funny what happens to a body that's dehydrated when you rehydrate it. Some phenomenal stuff can happen. And the look was, yeah, it was very, very nice. And
yeah,
come away from the win and
a little bit of tension in my calf pre-stage, but it didn't cramp up or anything. It's just where I pose, I put all my weight through my left leg, and I've still got it's still a bit tender even now, but yeah, otherwise it was pretty. That's the worst I've had.
going back to the tan. What do you think they were using with the roller? Because it wasn't show shine, but because I can see what deck means. Like when he was talking about his podcast, it looked like Dreamtown, but it was like a. What would you?
It was a cream. It was almost like a jar of coconut oil because they were dipping the rollers in it.
Yeah,
But it wasn't. Yeah, we definitely learned we need a roller for backstage.
for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
top tip. Even for the show shine, having because we use show shine on top of the glaze in Canada, but the problem is you then got nothing to like pat it in with, and it just sort of dollops. So
if we'd have touched your, because I put a bit of show shine in you, if I'd have touched that and put that in, your tan, what they just put on, would have rubbed off.
Yeah,
it was that bad. To be fair, yeah. But when it was on, it was actually on and on. It hadn't run. It looked good, but it's not realistic. I need base coats there.
yeah. It's they did that in Budapest as well. They did all your tan on the same day, but that didn't. It wasn't as hot then. It was in October, so it's not really comparable. So yeah, they called me first, which was fucking insane. It's weird to say even now. Like, keep sort of saying to myself, qualify for the Olympia. It's like fucking what? In fact, in the moments that we paused this, I checked my emails and I've had an email from the Olympia, and it's like it says greetings from the Olympia, and it's about tickets and things like that. I forwarded it to you.
Okay, yeah. Like that. Are they paying for your flight?
They said they'll be in touch later on.
Right, that's cool. Yeah. That's cool. Do they pay for the partner's flight and the coach's flight?
Probably not.
No. It's a shame.
Yeah. So yeah, got called first. Did not anticipate. Hey Manu, all the interviews that would then ensue. It was about half an hour before I could actually get to you. And the first time we actually saw each other was in front of the interviewer.
Yeah.
That was weird. She did her homework. She knew Dan's name. She knew about the dogs. She'd been on Instagram. Yeah.
She needed a raise.
Yeah. So I had to do an interview with the MC, an interview with the promoter Emilio, and then an interview with this Spanish woman for, I can't even remember what the Instagram channel is now. But yeah, and then trying to get out the venue was just people asking questions and wanting photos, and it was definitely a different post-show experience because I went and hid in the car. Dan went and asked Emilio for money.
Oh, that was awkward. Imagine putting a language barrier in between me asking some Spanish bloke, give me £2,000, please. Turns out he eventually got it. I was Romana's partner. I wasn't just asking for £2,000. He's gonna wire it or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like
Yeah, so that happened, and then we went and had a nice quiet meal, just the two of us, and put our phones away,
that was
which
great.
was lush.
So nice, isn't it?
Yeah, although we have learnt not to fly back the day after a show. That wasn't fun.
What happened?
Well, I just felt like I just got that pain and then couldn't move.
Oh yeah, because you reached up in your whole
Yeah.
left side.
Yeah, yeah, being cramped up after posing that hard all day. Because it's not just being on stage, it's then like doing rounds in between and the check-ins leading up to it and all that sort of thing. It all takes its toll. So yeah, that happened.
That happened. That's a recent event.
Mm.
I mean, you've had a lot of exposure and a lot of attention since. Like, I haven't really properly spoken to you about it. I sense it's all new to you and you're not used to that. And my favorite one is, oh, I'm so proud of you, mate. You don't even know her. How can you be proud of someone when you don't know her? Anyway,
Toronto was worse because I felt an obligation to be on social media and reply to everybody, and it was literally I couldn't clear my Instagram inbox quick enough before there would be like more messages, whereas with Spain I kept it quieter because I just didn't want the pressure. And then afterwards I was able to just put my phone, I spoke to who I wanted to speak to, and then I just put my phone away. And I didn't actually check Instagram until about midday the next day. I think it was when we got to the airport was the first time I checked Instagram.
Yeah,
which is pretty good.
How's all the attention that you're getting now? Because we'd always said before, like, you're the person that nobody ever notices, and I said to you, "Don't worry, it will happen." And at that point, you're like, "Whatever," but I could always see this coming, and it just needed the right direction, things to lead to things. But the new exposure, the attention, what's that like for you?
It's quite draining because you, coupled with like the post-show fatigue, is obviously where my head's at. And sometimes, some days, it's like I just can't think to reply. I can't think to read a message, and I can't think to reply, and it's just quite overwhelming. And then the next day I might be good for a couple of hours and I start engaging, and then I'm like tired from that, or something happens and then I don't want to engage again. So it's quite a roller coaster of overwhelm, I guess. It's probably the best
we both have a social battery though as well, don't we?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, like, from the outside looking in, probably me, I'm the best at a resting bitch face at the gym, and it's purely because I'm very protective of my training. It's not that I'm actually a dickhead. It's that when I'm training, I just want to train. And I think for you, I think a lot of people probably think you're a bitch. Probably, but
it's like most of the time in the recent sessions, I'm trying to ignore my anxiety. I'm trying to ignore the palpitations or the tightness in my throat or the tightness in my chest. And when someone comes up and starts talking to me, I can't even, like, when was it? We were training together Sunday. We were sort of in and out of each other's session, or like helping each other. Well, no, it wasn't. It was yesterday during push.
Yeah.
Monday during, not
Monday.
matters. Monday during push.
Monday.
And push is generally, if I've got tightness in my throat, push is the worst session because it's all here and you're using those muscles. And yeah, just trying to talk when I'm feeling like that makes me more breathless, which then leads to, even though I know what it is, leads to a certain element of panic and more breathlessness. And it's like a big cycle. So I tend to try not to talk to people when I'm actively training. Before or after, even when I'm doing my cardio, if my throat's tight, it makes it harder. And it's like talking makes me more aware of it. So I try not to. And then, yeah, you do seem like you're just being an unsociable bitch. But, you know, I'm not in there to be social. I'm not in there for a chat. I'm in there because I'm a professional athlete working towards a goal. And it's reprieve from my mental health. And if someone's there talking to me, it just brings that all to the surface. So yeah, if I give you a resting bitch look, then I'm sorry, but I am actually a nice person. I just want to train.
Don't tell people that.
I suppose it's like, you wouldn't go to a spa and see somebody relaxing on a fucking sunbed or like lounger in the spa or in the jacuzzi and start having a conversation with them, because you know that they're in there to relax. So I don't know why we've got this sort of mentality behind the gym that if somebody's resting in between a set, or not even sometimes you might be mid-set and someone tries to talk to you, you're interrupting that person's time. Best intentions of the world of the person trying to get that interaction, but maybe just consider what you're actually interrupting and what that person's going through whilst you're interrupting them.
Doesn't mean you have to blank that person, but what's wrong with just walking in past them? The other person have their earphones on, little nod, or
Right.
if you know me, like, you know, I'm not taking my earphones off. I want to say, yo, fist bump, we're good, crack on. And if I'm done my session after, then have a chat off that, you know. I always use the analogy of like, you wouldn't go into the cockpit of a pilot who's trying to fly a plane and interrupt him when he's trying to land it and do his job. You just wouldn't, would you? And at the end of the day, when you're in the gym now, it's your job. Like, it is actually a job. It brings you income now to do well on stage.
Well,
what you're working, you're so fucking, like, it frustrates me that it's cool at the same time. You're so modest about it. You realise you're going to be a fucking Olympian. Like that. Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. I couldn't inflate a head if I tried. But yeah.
So that was the things that happened.
The things that happened. Prep starts in, I've got it all on the sheets, to be fair, but I think we're about
because that's the thing
7 weeks.
That's the thing that's happened as well. Obviously I put up an Instagram post over the weekend. I made the decision to leave Tom. Part of that is financial. I've also got a new job, which I'll start in August, and I'm going to be working part-time, so it's more or less cut my salary by 50%. And obviously I've got a very expensive holiday to fund now, so needing to make financial adjustments. And one big place I can save money is coaching, especially when I live with such a good coach.
Did you just say I was a good coach?
Yeah. And like he downplays it, but there was a lot of interaction between him and Tom during the prep, mainly because I struggled to verbalize where I was at, and Dan could do that in a much better way than I did. It probably looks a bit controlling from the outside, but it's not like you're going behind my back and talking to my coach. You always made me aware that you were more or less always.
Sometimes it didn't, because it's better for your head.
Yeah.
It's better for your head for you not to know, but Tom is not to know because he doesn't live with you.
And I didn't offload on him either. It was
no,
like,
no, you did tell him, and he did have an insight, but it's easier for me to say because you struggle to talk. And when we're trying to do certain things like carb loads or anything like that, and I know her head is not in a good place, her anxiety spikes, she's not going to assimilate nutrients, let alone actually finish the food.
Yeah.
I know at that point, dude, like, pull it down to 300 carb if you're going to, or let's just give her a day and I'll tell you if she can do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's one of those. It's like, I could see your body could probably do with the carbs and whatnot, and I would, but the timing of the carbs going in or the extra food intake when we push and pull was very much dependent on where your head is at.
When anxiety spikes, I can't eat. And that was the whole reason, in a way, we started prep in January far too early, was because my appetite was shot because I was so up here, I couldn't eat.
Apparently having PTSD is good for the shreds.
Yeah, apparently. It's like, even some of the carb up, at the back end of prep, I am so depleted, but there were still meals I was sat there and I was like, I don't want it. I really don't want it. I can't stomach it, but I've got to eat it because it's for the goal. So there's a financial reason, and then, like we just touched on, there was a lot of stress around checking in, and the whole process of that, and it streamlines it to have Dan do it. And then, kind of most importantly, it was to move forward and do something together and have that experience together. And who else is in a better position to coach me than somebody that knows me so inside out, knows my head, knows my body, knows my training. It just made so much sense to do it together.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like we, yeah, we wouldn't go there, but yeah, I'm excited about it. But my biggest hang up initially would have been the thought of how does that, we're going to probably do a podcast on this, but like mixing relationship with coach athlete relationship, it can be quite unsteady grounds there, but we've put the stuff in place to make sure it doesn't create issues.
And we're good with communication and
WhatsApp, we've got a WhatsApp chat.
Yeah, separate WhatsApp chat.
So when we talk about anything that's coaching, we have a separate WhatsApp chat that's Olympia prep.
Because otherwise it would just get diluted with, can you get me some yogurt from Tesco's, please? What time are you coming home? Have the dogs been fed? Or even like, you might be upstairs, I'm downstairs. Can you bring up my laptop? That sort of shit.
Can you wipe my arse on £300? What?
That's never happening. Ever. Getting a stick. You can do it with a stick. Fuck that. It's bad enough shaving your ass.
Yeah. I didn't pebble dash though, did I?
Luckily, this time. Yeah. Sneezing whilst you're having a piss naked.
Oh my God. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
So yeah, I think a podcast about how it's working a bit later on down the line would be good.
Yeah, I like generally like with, again, this is just pilot going over recent events, but like generally how we've managed that relationship kind of dynamic whilst on prep together, like because we did have our struggles, but a lot of that's down to communication, and that's how we've learned from that, and we've got stronger because of it, because we learned each other like, oh shit, okay, maybe one being silent is not the one being off, but that person just doesn't want to cause the other person stress. And that can build up over time and come out, and we learned a lot, didn't we, from that prep?
Yeah,
we did.
Yeah.
We'll go over that another time.
Yeah, I think so, because we've been talking for quite a while now anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we're all golden. We're just chilling at the minute, enjoying a bit of the
energy, bit of
food. Yeah.
We're gonna have kind of a home cooked off plan in a minute.
Yeah, basically I'm like Chris, yeah, and it's your meal anyway, apart from you got a fattier cut of red meat than you'd otherwise have.
And I'm gonna put some butter on the mushrooms.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
He's now thinking food.
Yeah, the potatoes are done, aren't they? Yeah. So we can eat soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
I'm hungry too.
Okay, let's get off this podcast.
On that note,
that was episode 1, guys. These are going to get better. We're going to like make this a bit more professional, but if you know me, I don't get flashy, so you could probably expect like a little banner in the background with an Olympia sign, but apart from that, you won't get much more. We got Alex, my good friend, client, and he's a fantastic videographer, Alex Cooper. He's going to shoot you doing some stuff which will come out, and we're going to get some advice from them like regards cameras. I'm going to get some probably some mics, so we got better sound quality, and then with these we'd like to put it on Spotify as well. Would be cool, wouldn't it?
We need someone to teach us how to do that.
Yeah, we need someone to teach us, otherwise we're relying on probably your car, because your car seems smarter than us.
Yeah, my car is smarter than us. So, although leaving me NHS, I'm gonna have to give that back probably.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It's bad in the spaceship.
It's for the betterment.
Probably gonna get banned from driving anyway, so
probably.
Yeah. That was a prep slip up. Leaving a 12-hour shift on the way to the gym to try and deal with my anxiety and get done doing 45 miles an hour in a 40. I've already got 9 points where I forgot to pay my insurance when I was on prep for my pro card win.
Yes.
Oh dear.
Wally.
Yeah. But I've spoken many times of my prep slip-ups. Right. So that's our podcast. We're going to go and eat.
Yeah. How do we finish these things? There's a lot more that's happened we're going to go over, because full bore now we're both with full bore. I would like to have like a full bore band in the back. That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Maybe a little Miss Bikini Fitness one as well.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Shameless plug.
Suze has done so much for you.
Oh, she's fucking wicked.
Yeah, she seems cool. I'd love to meet her one day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, I'm hungry. I want my steak.
Yeah. Food.
Bye, guys.
Laters.